Sumesh Menon, you're the CEO and co-founder of Woo, and I really appreciate your time. Thanks for taking the time with us today. We've not interviewed you before, so it'd be lovely to cover your founding story. How was Woo and when was Woo started?
So Woo, the journey began in 2014, and it's an interesting story how we actually got about to do that because the Indian market is very unique, and dating is traditionally seen as a taboo. This is back circa 2014. We took a look around our office. I'm a serial entrepreneur, so we had a team that was working on apps. We looked around the office and we saw that they were of a specific demographic. Young, 24 plus, very independent in their thinking process. Most of them had moved from the other towns to the big city. But what was more important is their outlook towards love and marriage, right? And it was drastically different from how the same population looked at love and marriage 10 years ago, right? And that was the basic seed with which we started ideating around creating a dating app that was actually meant for India, meant for Indians. Because the time had come where young people in India who had moved to urban centers were thinking very differently about their approach to finding that special someone or settling down, right? And they realized that it was a process, and they wanted to be in charge of that process. Whereas traditionally, this was the onus of this was actually on the society at large, the parents, the community, the uncles and aunts to try and find that match. We have a long-standing tradition of arranged marriage, and it's not that that's going away, but this new crop of people who are coming into, young, financially independent working population in urban centers, they wanted to actually take that call on their own, and their parameters were very different from what was traditionally seen as a good match. So it wasn't about the community and the caste and whether everybody approved in the family. It was about your lifestyle, your ambition, what you like to eat, where you like to travel, and what you like to read. And these things became more important, and personal compatibility became more important than social compatibility, right? And that was the seed with which we started. And the premise of Woo was to actually address and facilitate that audience and get them to connect across Indian metros.
Gotcha.
That's really where we started.
So how would you position, Tinder's been quite active in the Indian market of late and grown quite rapidly as well. How is Woo different from Tinder?
So we're similar in the fact that we do help people connect, right? Which is what pretty much every dating app, even matchmaking apps out there are doing. But we differ in the fact that we built this product with the Indian consumer in mind, right? And whereas Tinder was always built with a Western consumer in mind, right? And at the core of it, everybody's looking for relationships and love, so it doesn't differ. But the way they do it and the apprehensions that they have are very different, right? For example, we spend a lot of time interviewing women across the country in different socio-strata, in different stages of their career, different stages of their life, right? From students all the way to people who had separated or divorced, right? And try to understand what they were looking for and how they ended up, looking at relationships and how they would use technology for that. The first thing that we realized is they were very open to it, right? Which was kind of counter to what we went in with, right? They were very open to the idea, but they had certain requirements. They wanted to make sure that their privacy was maintained. They wanted to make sure that they were not stalked by a whole bunch of guys trying to reach out to them. And they also wanted to do it on their own terms, right? So we built the app focusing on the personality of the user. We built the app trying to make sure that women's privacy was maintained. So only the initials of our women users are shown. We don't actually display the full name of the user. The match happens only on mutual consent, right? So if both parties actually like each other's profile, that's the only time the match happens. And we built out a lot of things that kind of bring out the personality of the user in terms of tags. One of the common feedback that we got is that women wanted to find people from a certain industry, a certain, sometimes religion was important, sometimes educational background was important. So we started providing all those information points upfront so that people could surf through our profiles by tags, right? This was very different at a time when Tinder was around. The products were very, very different in the way we approached the end consumer. As the world is evolving, we feel like everybody's trying, has realized that core truth that people are looking for personalities and they're going beyond pictures. And so today, I cannot tell you that Tinder is significantly different in how they're thinking about the user. They've also realized that users are more sophisticated and it's not all skin deep. But we do approach it in very different ways.
Are people in India more receptive to these kind of compatibility profiling type questions? How many questions are on Woo that are more focused? How many questions are the softer side? They're focused more on the personality.
We don't ask questions specifically, so you don't have to go through a very long, tedious questionnaire in order to get to the to bring out your personality, so to speak. We have a very cool tag cloud feature where you can literally just keep popping bubbles that actually describe you more.
Great.
And these are very soft, right? It could be your love for Chinese food. It could be that you like to read, deep philosophical books from, Kafka and so on and so forth, right? So it's a very simple, straightforward onboarding process where people actually talk about who they are, what their personalities are, and then that goes into the mix of how we actually recommend profiles. But the realization that we've had, and you brought up the point, Mark, is that people will do whatever they want to do, right? And different people have different agendas. So some of them come in with a serious intent, some of them come in for more casual encounters, and they find each other out. There's this human way of filtering out intent that no technology can provide. So none of these guys actually have figured out a way to force fit matches, right? But what we do is we provide a lot of information that actually helps users make a decision on where they're going, right? For example, we have a very cool feature called Q&A, right? It's a question and answer feature where a girl can ask a question in 140 characters and people have to respond, right? So there is no active dialogue yet, right? So she might get 10 responses, 15 responses, 20 responses, and some of them are great, some of them are really bad, and some of them are super cute, right? So they get to decide which one they want to like as a response, and that kind of leads to the next level of conversation. So there are simple ways of actually filtering out personality, because you can put up whatever profile picture you want, but if you answer that question in a way that doesn't resonate with the other user, then you're not going anywhere with this relationship.
Yeah. So it seems like there's two schools of thought in the internet dating industry as a whole. And it seems like one school of thought is that the user knows best and you should help yourself, right? Ultimately. The other school of thought is, I want to say we know best. I want to say you help the user more and you infer character and look at some of these little tags and say, okay, well, based on you saying this tag, you're probably compatible with this range of people based on this tag. So kind of that's the more algorithmic, I guess, side of dating. So you in the you know best camp or the we know best camp?
Good question. And we've come to that realization over time, right? I think every dating app starts with we know best. And we're going to develop this technology that will solve all world problems. The honest truth is no, the user knows best. And our job is to actually provide all that information up front, and in a more secure way, so that the user can decide. And we believe in serendipity to that extent, right? We have very unique connections that have been made on our app, and when we hear their stories, they themselves say, there was no idea that we would actually meet. So, the couples that have actually gone on and got married would say that, I never thought that this is the kind of person that I would eventually end up with, but thanks to your app, it didn't really kind of constrain me to a certain profile. So we are in the camp that there are very different human beings out there, and they are very intelligent, and they have their own self filter about who they want to meet. And our job is to provide an avenue and then, maybe a space for all these people to come together, and hopefully the magic happens because there's a lot of commonality between these people, and the conversation takes its own form, right?
You have a considerable diaspora as part of your market. What would you say as a proportion of your users are outside of India?
So 20% of our active users are outside of India right now.
24%?
And we stumbled on diaspora.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
20%.
Yeah, great.
It's interesting because we did not design the app for a global audience in the initial days, right? It was really focused on India. We were actually going city by city. We had launched in Bangalore, and then we had launched in Delhi, and so we were actually approaching it as an India-centric app with a city-wise rollout plan. But we started seeing traction from Indians traveling abroad who are using it to stay connected back to the country. And then we started seeing traction in pockets from places where there were high concentration of what we call non-resident Indians, right? People of Indian origin or who've actually moved to a new country for work. And they were connecting within their community there, and they were connecting back with us, with our community in India. And that's really when the penny dropped, and we realized that we want to make this app not just for India, but for Indians around the world. And then the size and scale of the market and our definition of the market quickly changed to encompass the whole world, right? Because as you know, we are one of the largest diasporas, and we have a lot of people in different countries. Some of them are second, third generation, and some of them are just new. They've just moved there for college, and some of them have just moved on their first jobs. So that really gave us this opportunity to kind of expand the way we look at the market. And we realized there's a much bigger market, and at the end of the day, they are all looking for some kind of human connection. And if we can provide that, we've actually done a good job.
Gotcha. And you acquired a company recently, DUS. They're based. They're actually focused mostly on America, from what I understand, but diaspora focused.
Yes.
How are you integrating them? How's that working?
Yeah. That's interesting. We quickly realized that, while we are trying to address the Indians around the world, it's not something that we necessarily need to solve sitting out of India alone, because these diasporas actually behave differently. They think differently. They consume media in a very different way, and their expectations from an app like us is also different. So it wasn't as simple as just turning on different countries and, we're good to go. The early traction was showing us some kind of direction, saying, we probably want to find a way to appeal to the Asian community, the South Asian community in markets like the U.S., Canada, and the U.K. And we also quickly realized that that's a market we need to understand, right? It's that we would take a certain amount of time in that learning curve to get there. So thus really was a great move in that direction for us to kind of. They were trying to solve this in their home market, which is the US, right? They're an LA-based company, and they also have a very strong presence in Canada. And so we partnered with them. We said, hey, you're trying to solve the same problem. We have one part of the equation here in India. You have one part of the equation out there in the Western Hemisphere, and can we find a way to work together, right? So. The whole opportunity is essentially, of course, DUS users then become Woo users, and they get access to this whole diaspora around the world because we have this large bank of users in India itself. And the second piece is local insights, right? So the founding team at DUS continues to help us really navigate the South Asian diaspora in the US.
Yeah.
And we have people like Justin, who's a very big internet celebrity with that diaspora, who is also evangelizing what we do at Woo, and actually letting his followers know that DUS has now become Woo, and therefore getting a lot more people excited about the product.
Gotcha. So you cross-marketing rather than integrating the databases then?
No, so we have integrated the databases. It is a single app right now. DUS ceases to exist and is transformed into Woo. So now there is Woo, and all the DUS users have actually migrated, and the founding team continues to support the growth of Woo in the US market. That's really the strategy.
And are you looking to acquire more companies? Are there any
Yes,
other?
we realized that. Yes, we realized that it's we still haven't covered the entire Indian diaspora, so we're actively looking for partners in out of Europe. We're looking for opportunities in Australia, and we're looking for opportunity in South Africa.
What are your goals for 2017? We're at the beginning of the year now. What will Woo look like in 11 months?
So monetization and revenue growth is definitely one of the higher priorities in 2017. We started in great traction. We're growing, I think between 30% month on month in terms of revenue. So we're quite happy with where we are right now. But we think we haven't really scratched the surface in terms of where we can go when we roll out diaspora in its full feature set. We are also looking at how to crack, we made the first attempt right now with us, but we're trying to figure out how we can crack this whole entire diaspora space and be relevant to Indians around the world. Now, that's not as easy as it looks because Indians around the world think differently, but we want to be relevant to them in their home market. So somebody who is, second generation Australian also feel as comfortable using Woo as somebody who is in the UK, right? And that means a lot of local insights, really building the product not just for one country but for one kind of people around the world. That's what I've been looking at.
Sumesh Menon, you're the CEO of Woo. Thank you so much for your time.